I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. So today I come to you from the Industrial Foregoing realm. Yes, we are in the Industrial Foregoing workspace, where today we are going to be generating a ton of power. And as you've probably seen by the thumbnail, well, we're going to be making ourselves a Mycelial Reactor. And this thing right here can produce 25 million RF per tick. And I'm going to show you how you can easily set it up in Project Architect 2. So before we get this prepped up, just some things I want to go over. I did go ahead and get my quantum ring moved into here, so I now have a new fresh set of channels in this dimension. Remember, these are all different dimensions. These are all not in the overworld. So this is my only pure way of linking things over. And then I went ahead and added my cabling that wraps around, giving me some channels to play with for automation, which we're going to be needing to do. And this is linked together with a P2P, which is giving me the 32 channels here and only utilizing one of the total 32 channels that I have available off of the main gate here. What is this called again? I always forget. Quantum ring. So I only have 32 to play with, so it's something I got to kind of keep in mind. But thankfully, I do have access to the controller, which is what this is connected to back in the overworld. Now, how am I going to set this up? And what exactly am I setting up today? So there's this thing called from Industrial Foregoing's generators, which is called the Mycelial Reactor. And if you remember from years ago, back in 1.12, when we had extra utilities too, we had this thing that was called a rainbow generator. And essentially, this is the rainbow generator in Industrial Foregoing. So we have to have all of these generators, which I just went ahead and got crafted up because we already have the auto crafts for all of the things required for it. For example, these advanced machine frames and stuff like that. So we essentially need to take these generators, we need to have them all powered simultaneously, and they need to be just running. Now we have to do a couple of things, like we have to make sure the power is being used, and things like that. And then once all the machines are running, if we have the Mycelial Reactor itself placed in the world, the reactor will produce 25 million RF per tick for us to play around with, which is going to be a lot. And it is a nice sort of start. And I feel like it is almost better to have this up and running before we get to diving deeper into mechanism. I feel like this is such a good point of power right here. 25 million is a lot to play with, but we are going to definitely be using it all. That's because a lot of the mechanism late game things, including our armor and things like that, they are so power hungry. So let's talk about how we're going to automate this, because we have to get every single one of these things automated. And this is where I find this to be one of the most fun things to automate for power. It is so fun because it gives you all of these individual little tasks, 16 tasks to be exact. And with EMC, it's going to be a little bit easier, but I have automated these in, several other mod packs in the past. And it's just a blast every time to do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and place these in, and I'm going to decorate this one after we get them up and running. But I have this sort of laid out. I'm going to place the generator in the center point of this room, much like I did the mechanism automation. So this is going to be like a center point, and I feel like this is a big center point of this Industrial Foregoing mod, which is really fun. So first things here, I'm just placing them in the order that they are listed in JEI. You can see them right here. We have the furnace, the slimy, Culinary. Like, it really doesn't matter what order you place them in, but I am going to put them in the way I have them set up, and I'm going to go over each one of them as I do. So we have the furnace, which of course is going to receive coal. We have the slimy, which is going to receive slime and milk. Keep in mind, we got to automate all of those things. Then we have the culinary generator, and the culinary generator just takes food, any kind of food. The potion generator, which you can send potions to it, but in our case, we're actually going to be using water bottles, which does work. And I really, really like the automation for that. A disenchantment, which in my opinion is one of the harder things to automate because you have to send it enchanted books, and getting enchanted books can be hard and can be easy. We're actually going to set something up very specific to this dimension, which is going to work out here, because I made sure that the dimension we're in and the biome we're in was very specific. Warm ocean, to be exact. So we're going to be setting something up for that. And kind of, spoiler, it's going to be a fisher that's going to be generating those books. The ender, which honestly just gets ender pearls, which is very, very straightforward. Then we have the explosion that just needs TNT. And then we have the Frosty, which needs like snow and ice, and there's different ones that are better than others. Just regular ice typically works pretty good. Something else to note about these machines, by the way, they do emit effects when they are actively running, so something you got to keep in mind too. The Halitosis, which is going to receive Dragon's Breath, very easy, that has all EMC. Then we have the Magma, which can receive lava here, and I believe this is redstone to generate more power, but you just need to feed it lava from what I remember. And then the pink one, this will consume any pink dyed item, including just regular pink dye. It's kind of hilarious. Then you have the Nether Star, which burns off of Nether stars. Of course, that kind of makes sense. The Death, which will run off of rotten flesh and things like that, like decaying matter. And then we have ourselves the Rocket, which is going to be a weird one to automate, but this just takes like regular rockets, and we'll end up getting that all set up. And then we have the Crimed Mycelial Reactor, which uses things from the Nether, like the fungus from the Nether. And then last but not least, we have the Metallurgic Mycelial Generator, which takes liquid meat, giving us a use for that liquid meat, and an ingot, for example, like an iron ingot. Now, first things first, let's get all of the things that can use EMC out of the way. So for example, I'm going to place an EMC link here on the Furnator, set some charcoal to it, and then we'll say, hey, pull charcoal into here. And you can see that is going to just work phenomenally. And that's just off of a regular base 1 link. And then for this one, it's just going to get slime, and that's pretty straightforward. Now the milk is going to be a different story. We'll come back to that later. The Culinary is also another pretty easy one that's just going to utilize, I think a carrot will work. And we'll set that to pull. And you can see that is going to start that buffer, and that should be more than enough as well. The potion generator we'll come back to, because that one is not related to EMC, right? We have bottles that have EMC, but water bottles do not, and we'll set up an automation for that. The Disenchantment, we'll worry about that as well. Ender, that should be pretty straightforward, as it just requires an Ender Pearl. So we'll Ender Pearl that bad boy up. There we go, and we'll make sure that's set to pull, and perfect. That one's up and running. The explosion, we do have TNT. Now, this is going to be one that is kind of a pain. Whenever I do this and I get this going, we're going to want to disable explosions in this area. Oh, because that happens. Oh, and it's so bad. So being right next to this, making sure that we have that slot selected within the radius, and we disable the explosion sounds. Woo, because that is one of the most annoying ones that you can have running in your base. And for the Frosty one, we'll just place in some ice. This is very straightforward as well. And that's going to give us some negative effect slowness. But thankfully, our gear actually prevents all of these negative effects anyways, which is beautiful. This one, I believe, Dragon's Breath. EMC, super easy to automate that as well. You got to love how most of these things, saving a lot of time, have EMC values to them. So it's going to make setting up these generators very, very quick and easy. Now for the Magma, I believe it is redstone that goes in the top slot here. You can see redstone input just like that, but I don't think this is actually required for that one, but it is there for that. Now I want to upgrade our link to this one, making sure we have a 64 one for this one per second, which I think is going to be perfect for this, because I'm going to use pink dye. And we just want to make sure that we have enough of it able to be flowing into this slot. Because I remember correctly, this consumes, at a much quicker rate. Honestly, the 1 second one still might be a good idea here, but this will definitely make sure it keeps up. Now the Nether Star I'll have to come back to. We do have Nether Stars automated, but we are going to have to get that connected into our system and get that linked in, and then get this routed to this generator. Death Generator is also another easy one, just some rotten flesh, and we make sure that is being pulled in. Now the rocket generator is going to require some specific autocrafts, and something to keep in mind, this is not wanting a firework rocket. This is wanting an actual rocket. Notice these don't have descriptions here. So we are going to, for example, have to craft it the way it's intended to be crafted, and that's with some paper, right? So typically, just to kind of show you what it's wanting, you just do 1 paper and gunpowder, and that should work. If not, it may require a higher tier. This is just a regular firework rocket. That's the recipe for it. When you put it in here, okay, so it doesn't accept that tier, but let's try a higher tier, right? That uses 2 gunpowder, for example, and 1 paper. This will be a flight duration 2, and that one works. So when we make this, we just need to make sure that it accepts a flight duration 2. So just 2 gunpowder and 1 paper in that autocraft, and then we'll just make sure to send that into this reactor. And the crimed one, that's also pretty easy, just some crimson fungus, and that generator should be up and running. Now the metallurgic one right here, the metallurgic one, this is going to require that liquid meat that we have stored in our system. So if you take a look, we have liquid meat right here. So we're going to end up exporting that into this generator and also sending in the iron ingots that are going to be used in this as well. But we'll get to that here in just a second. That should be all of our EMCable stuff ready to go. Now let's take a look at the potion mycelial generator, and I want to get water bottles automated for this. So the way that we can do this is we should be able to use something like modular routers to pull and send bottles and also have it click on something like a sink, for example, to fill it up. So if I have a sink up here and I right click a bottle, notice it fills it up. So what I should be able to do is I can use a modular router to simulate that operation. So we'll use an activator module just like we have, and we have EMCable bottles, but we're not gonna have to worry about that because this is all going to be within one closed loop system where we just give it the bottles. So we can say right here, set it to whitelist mode. Hey, only right click up, and we don't have to worry about any other settings. Just only right click while whitelisted a glass bottle. And what this will do is this will right click that glass bottle in here and it will fill it up. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want it to do. But once it's filled, we then need to send it into the generator. So within modular routers, I need, for example, like I'll use a MK2, or actually for the sending, I will use a regular sender upgrade, just a regular version of it. I have it right here. And so we will say only send, make sure it's whitelisted, to the down, only send a filled water bottle. So that should be now configured and set up correctly. Then we need to pull the empty bottle out because whenever this receives a bottle, notice it now is empty in here. So this is where, back with some more modular routers, we'll use a puller upgrade. Now I don't know if a puller MK1 will work for this if I don't configure the sides, but it's worth a shot. I'm gonna go ahead and set that to the down and make sure it only pulls a regular glass bottle out of the bottom. So with that set up, whoop, there it goes. So it should now be looping this operation, and it will loop it indefinitely. So that should be pretty straightforward for constantly keeping a water bottle in here. Look at that. And I don't even think we need any speed upgrades. We just should leave it the way it is. Now, believe it or not, the slimy generator requiring the cow is going to be very similar to how we just set this one up. But instead of clicking on a sink, we can click on entities. So if I place this down below, for example, right here, we can have this also click the bucket to fill this. So we're going to actually have 2 activator modules in this case. And one is going to be, for example, right clicking the bucket onto here, but also we need a cow that needs to be right here. So let's get some glass because I think that'll look kind of nice. And since we'll keep with our white theme here, we'll have the cow stand in this just like so. And I just have to get the cow into here, right? So I do have a cow in my yoinker, and I should be able to get the cow just like that in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a name tag right here. And we do have a custom texture pack, and this goes for a lot of the mobs that are in here. There are some custom names that you can name things. For example, this cow can be named Smoothie. And whenever I use this on it, it will actually change the way the cow looks. I know we can't really see it right now, but yes, it will change. That is a pig. Oh my God. It will change the way it looks. This looks like sherbet, which I kind of like, if that is actually what it is. But yeah, there's a lot of different names, and you can see all of those from within the texture pack wiki, or I guess not wiki, the CurseForge page. There's a lot of them there. But this is like just one example of a really fun one. Now, anyways, back to the automation. So we need a bucket, and we'll just have one bucket that's looping through the modular router. Like I said, we need 2 activators. So I'll take this one, and then we need another one. And we're going to have one activator that is going to have this this bucket here. Let's make sure that, actually, let's make sure this card is completely clear. I don't remember what I used this for. So let's do the one that is going to be clicking the empty bucket on the cow. And that's going to be the front. And we'll make sure that clicks an empty bucket onto the cow. That's pretty straightforward. And whenever we put this in here and we put that there, that should hopefully click the cow. If I remember correctly, if I did that correctly, I actually may have that backwards or something. whitelist, empty bucket, front. Action is going to be right click, and we might have to set this to right click entity. That's right, this is different. So whenever we set that there we go, that right clicked the entity. And so now I'll take that bucket, and then we'll say we need on the up, we need this to whitelist click a bucket of milk. So that should be pretty straightforward. And honestly, this is all we need. We just need 2 activators. So let's put that back in here. And that should start sending the milk. So it's pulling the milk from the cow, and then it's sending the milk into here and just rinsing and repeating that process. And that's pretty straightforward. And it will stop, of course. It is best to probably have this set up like so a way it's not constantly ticking this guy. Now, when it comes to the Disenchantment mycelial generator, this can receive any enchanted item. So it can receive like an enchanted pair of boots, or it can receive an enchanted book. Whatever it is, it's going to output, so it's going to accept it in this slot. For example, we can set that to the top right here, and we'll say pull. And then on the side or on the bottom, we can, for example, let's do the bottom. We'll say, let's output this by pushing it to the bottom, because we want to make sure that the items that we're sending into here get sent somewhere. And I think I'm going to send it to a trash can. Let's just say we have an enchanted book, right? It's going to remove the enchant off of the book. Let's see, Soulbound, for example. And then after it consumes that, it will end up putting it over here. So that's how it's supposed to work, right? Right now, I probably have to break the generator in order for it to reset the power. But let's just assume that it does that, and it's going to go into the trash can. Now, the way that I want to generate enchanted things is going to be from the Marine Fisher. This thing is pretty darn cool. So if you place it on top of a 3x3 of source blocks like so, this will actually allow it to start working. And it is going to need some power because it is a pretty powerful machine. So it's going to take some power, and I definitely recommend giving it some upgrades. For example, speed, and then you also have the processing and also the efficiency. All of these are going to make this go significantly faster. You can see the items are already starting to build up. Now from this point, I want to separate enchanted items. So what we can do is we can send all enchanted items into this enchantment sorter, and this is also going to need a little bit of power. Let's place that on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the input slot pull from the back. So it's going to pull, and that's going to pull the items in just like you see here. And then what we can do is we can speed this up as well. So notice how this is separating in individual things. And what it's going to do is this top slot is like junk slot, things that aren't enchanted. This bottom slot will be things that are enchanted. It's pretty cool what this can do. And so on the side, we can set this to push, for example, to the right. And I can just trash all of those items because I'm not going to really need them. But notice we have a fishing rod right here. That is going to be kind of important. Now I might want to pull this out to make like it faster. We can use some pipes or something like that to make this a little bit faster. But on this side right here, I want these enchanted items to be sent to another inventory. Something like this right here will work. And we should hopefully be able to store these in a very specific thing. And that special storage block is going to be the armory cabinet. Now I've spread this out a little bit using some pipes so that makes it the transfer a little bit faster. But essentially what we're going to have to do here is on this upper slot, you're going to want to make sure if using pipes that you cancel the left side, making sure that that pipe that's on the left cannot pull from it. Otherwise it will be able to if it has a green check mark, and making sure that it's also allowing this side to pull out. So now we should only have this one side here, and we want to make sure that this is also disabled on this side. So the way this doesn't accidentally pull out any enchanted items either. So all of the enchanted items should get stored in this armory cabinet, which we cannot access the to see its contents or inventory, but we will note that it should be able to, for example, send the items out. You can see it is storing things that have like MBT data on it essentially. And that's kind of what this does. Non-stackable items get kind of stored in this armory cabinet. So now my idea is to essentially entangle this armory cabinet, and we should be able to use this and pipe items out of it. I think that's going to be pretty cool. And we should be able to send that directly to our disenchanter here. And remember, those other products are going to go out the side. And I can set this just like this. I think I should be able to set this directly on top. and allow this to automatically pull from the top. And you can see it is already supplying it just like that. And then whenever it needs it, whenever the power starts to run out, which we'll set up here in a minute, we'll be able to note that this should keep things up and running. So now technically that was one of the hardest things to automate essentially done in a snap of the fingers. Now for the Nether Star, we already have Nether Stars automated. So this one's actually pretty straightforward. We just need to use an exporter. So Nether Stars it is, drag that in, and that should pull from our Nether Star system. And we notice that gets filled up. And by the way, it is giving me the wither effect, but our mechanism suit is preventing the wither effect from affecting us, which is very, very nice. Now remember our rocket? Well, let's go ahead and design our recipe for this. So this is gonna be a regular crafting recipe. We put the 2 in and the paper, and when we do it by hand, it should set it correctly. And now with this, we need to just give it a place to craft. For example, we'll put it in here. And then we are going to use an exporter, just like the other setup. But this is going to get a crafting card. So that way it will request that craft whenever it needs to be done. And now make sure inside of here that you actually use the correct rocket, the duration 2 that you designed, and don't drag it from the JEI. Make sure you put the 1 in there. And then, like I said, that crafting card. And that should hopefully start to export and craft those rockets. And there we go. Beautiful. And now I think last but not least is to get up the metal or the metallurgic infuser generator. So iron will be going into 1. So we'll just do iron ingots. That's probably the easiest one to do. And then this is going to be that liquid meat. So industrial meat, and we can drag that into the slot as well. And then we just connect it like this. And that should hopefully start working after a second. There's the ingot and there's the meat, and hopefully there we go. It will kick on and start the process. And this of course is going to ramp up in speed. I don't think we're going to have to even put speed upgrades or anything in here. And I think with that, all of these are now set up and automated and ready to go. The only thing we have to do now is craft the mycelial generator. And I do have that one on autocraft, I believe. Mycelial, there we go. So that'll request. It requires the top end stuff. You do need ether gas for this, but we already have all of that stuff. So I've already kind of prepped myself well in advance for this particular craft. And this is going to generate 25 million ARF per tick. Now, there is some things that I'm going to have to note. We are going to be utilizing Flux networks that we got into last episode, and each one of these are going to receive a plug. By the way, here's my mycelial generator. And I think if I go ahead and I plop in here, let's pop through. We should be able to place this, I believe, anywhere. I think I'm going to have it up top or something like that. But it should detect that we have all these running. But if they are full on power, they're not actively running. So this is where we have to do some modifications, right? We are essentially going to have to make sure that these are constantly being drained of power for right now. And this is actually pretty nice if you go ahead and make yourself a Flux configurator. So I'm going to be putting plugs on here, and then I'm also going to make a point or grab a point, and we're going to create a trash network. All right, hear me out. It sounds weird. We are going to be trashing power, but it is definitely going to be worthwhile. So if I go back into this system here and I put a plug down, like for example, this one's going to be weird because we have a plug right here. Let's see. Can I put a plug here? No, I have to put it on the side. So you just need to put a plug on a network. We're going to create a network, and we're going to call it trash. Trash, if I can spell it right. There we go. And I'm going to set this to like a red color. That's fine. So this is the trash network, and I'm going to select it. And I should be able to leave everything the same. It doesn't really matter for what we're working on here. But I want to use my configuration wand to copy that. That way I can go ahead and place all of these down and make sure that, I believe if this is in your right hand, you can click it. I wonder if this will actually let me place it configured. Clean up client cache. No. Okay. So I'm going to have to place it down and then right click. But all it does is it's essentially copying all of that network information. And it saves so much time. You don't have to open the GUI and change or modify anything. Now with all of those set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a trash can for right now, and I'm going to put a point on it. And this point is going to now be linked to that trash network. And so we should now be sending all of the energy from here into the trash. And what this should have done is activated all of our generators yet again. So notice the enchantment one is running. It is generating power. And so what we should see is hopefully this starting up. And I don't think there's like a distance that these have to be for this to work. It should just need to be placed. Let's go ahead and put it over here. I'm going to put this up here. And it's supposed to be able to detect if these are all running. Oh man, maybe it does have a range. I don't know. Aha, the reason it's not running is because I forgot the lava on this. Oh goodness. Okay, so instead, let's go ahead and break this real quick. And, whew, Ender tank. Because we do have lava. Let's go ahead and grab this. And it is on this channel. Very nice. And you know what? I'm actually going to break this EMC link here that's generating redstone. And I'm just going to place this on top. Like I said, I don't think this one actually has to have redstone. And flip this lever, and now that is receiving lava. And so now this is going to kick on. Aha! It has. And notice it is completely filled. Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, so it is working. I'm going to go ahead and do the EMC link. And I'm going to give this power, or give this redstone. Yeah, just to make sure. Even though, like I said, I don't think this has to have redstone in my testing from the past, but I'm going to just, you know, have it set up just to make sure. But there we go. That should now start pulling in redstone again. You can see 7, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, this is dumping. Oh, did I set it to push? It needs to be set to pull. There we go. So now it's pulling it back in. And so now is just kind of figuring out, where do I want this thing to be? I can set it in this room for right now. I wish there was the actual display. There was, or used to be, a display on top when this is running, and it might still be there. I just can't see it just yet. What we can try though is, let's go ahead and put the plug on the back here, set it to the same network. So let's go ahead and set it to trash, and then bypass limit on this, and then also on the importer bypass limit. And so what we should see is this should now be running and actively producing that 25 million. And we can see that production happening right here. Now, I believe another way I can view this is with an energy meter, and I can place this on here, and I can go select the input from the bottom, and then we can set the mode to consume. And you can see right here, this tells me exactly how much RF per tick this is making. So now that that is all set up, I'm going to go ahead and use this time to go ahead and get some decoration done. So I'm going to make these look a little bit nicer than just being directly in the wall. And I'm going to go with the same design that I went with my mechanism room. So I'm going to have some of the simply lights in here. I think that just looks really good. Yeah, all of this all put together. So now that I know this is running, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and change this up a little bit. So right now I have this, this trash network set up on here. But let's actually go ahead and set this to the other network. So we'll go ahead and we'll select our main network. And then what we should be able to do here with that bypass limit is back in our base, anything that is set up that has those points on it should be able to utilize that power. And what I want to do is right here, I want to place a point on here. So this is going to be sending power now into the system. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And so I'll set this into main. That way we can keep this supplied with our abundance of power that's coming from the other dimension. And so now we can also go ahead and kind of remove this limit. And I now should be able to charge myself significantly faster. And so we should notice on this network back here that this is going to go kind of wild. And that's because, like I said, it is charging me now. And now we have some significant power to play around with. So I think with that, this is going to be a pretty good stopping point for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, of course, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. And of course, let me know down in the comments below if you did happen to find out something that you didn't know about, or if you have something awesome that you would love to share. There's a lot of people that go down there and check out those comments, including myself, and I love to learn from you guys just as much as you probably love to learn from these videos. So with that being said, guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. But before we leave, it's time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to J Warlock 42. Thank you so much, by the way, for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. And I thank all of you guys so much for watching today's episode. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Bye!